Hello, welcome to today's video about the balancing act between longevity and balance. Today we'll be taking a deep dive into a 10-second test that correlates to how long you may live for.
The connection between balance and life expectancy is often overlooked, but it's becoming increasingly clear that there is an association.
So if you're curious to see what this test could be, I urge you to continue watching this video and challenge yourself to see whether you are at risk yourself. But before that, I would greatly appreciate if you could like and subscribe this video. This kind gesture would be enormous help for my channel and for me to continue providing with more helpful content about happiness, health, and longevity. So before we get started, let's define what balance is. For the sake of this video, balance is the ability for our body to maintain our center of gravity within our base of support in order for us to keep upright and prevent us from falling. Our body uses three main systems in order for us to balance, which include
Proprioception, which is the ability for the body to sense our body's position and orientation by taking information from our joints, tendons, and skin receptors. Number 2, vision, which utilizes visual information from our ocular system or eyeballs to anticipate events that could affect our balance, including obstacles, uneven terrain, or environmental changes. Number 3, the vestibular system, which is a complex range of structures within the inner ear that helps detect any changes in the head positioning and movement.
So what is the relationship between balance and life expectancy? Well, with aging, it brings about a natural decline in our physical function, which includes aerobic and non-aerobic fitness, muscular strength, and also balance. With a reduction or a decline in balance, there is increased risk of fall, which according to World Health Organization is the second leading cause of unintentional deaths, causing about 700,000 deaths globally per year, leading up to 37.3 million people requiring medical attention.
Falls can lead to a whole host of complications, such as injuries, including hip fractures, traumatic brain injury, and brain hemorrhaging. Infections such as sepsis that result from surgeries to mend injuries, particularly hip fractures.
Conditions that arise from periods of no or little activity, such as DVTs, pneumonia, plus the psychological impact, the fear of falling, which affects quality of life and leads to poor health outcomes as well. Not only this, but in a study that we'll be discussing today, results show that people with poor balance tend to have an increased risk of comorbidities such as high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, coronary heart disease, and dyslipidemia. Now, whilst it might be a stretch to suggest that poor balance is the cause for these comorbidities, having poor balance may reflect an overall poorer state of health, or which may be relevant to living with these comorbidities.
So now let's get to the 10-second challenge described in this study from Aragel et al. The 10-second one-legged stance test is an assessment where you try and balance on one leg for at least 10 seconds. The test administered in the study allows the participant to either choose the left or right leg to balance on. With the non-supporting leg resting on the cuff of the balancing leg, the arms are extended and rested against the side of the body. Once the position is assumed, a timer for 10 seconds is started. The participant has 3 attempts to reach 10 seconds.
Now, for most people, this might seem like a very basic and easy test to complete, standing on one leg for more than 10 seconds, but there's clear data to suggest that performing this test or successfully performing this test progressively becomes more challenging after the age of 50. In this study by Aragel et al. In 2022, a cohort of 1,702 people aged between the ages of 51 and 75 was evaluated for the single leg balance performance or the ability to perform that test for more than 10 seconds, with a follow-up from 2009 and 2020. Now, with the average median follow-up of 7 years, researchers found that people over the age of 50 progressively found it harder to stand on one leg for greater than 10 seconds at a time. Now, when looking at this graph, what you can see is that 4.7% of people between the ages of 51 and 55 failed to complete this test, which increased by 11-fold to 53.6% between the ages of 71 to 75. If you look at the people listed at the ages of 81 to 85, almost 90% of people were not able to complete this test, of which those who were not able to complete those single leg balance tests for greater than 10 seconds, they correlate to a significant decrease in the probability of survival. Now, when adjusting for BMI, sex, and comorbidities, there was actually 84% higher risk that a participant would die within 7 years when they were not able to complete this test. And another interesting point found in this study was that those who were unable to complete the 10-second balance test, they also had a significantly higher risk of having a high BMI and living with comorbidities such as high blood pressure, dyslipidemia, obesity, diabetes. So how do these findings compare with other scientific research? Well, a cohort study in 2021 of 5,816 Americans published in the Journal of American Medical Association found that participants who couldn't complete a series of tests called the Romberg balance test, this involved patients or participants balancing with a narrow base support, feet together, on a foam pad, their eyes closed, or a combination of all of them. Those who were not able to complete these series of challenges had a 44% higher risk of all-cause mortality. In another prospective cohort study of 1,085 Japanese people between the ages of 65 and 89, researchers found that participants who couldn't stand on their one leg for more than 18 seconds had a 91% higher risk of death within a 12.5-year span. So once again, these findings are consistent with the study that we're introducing to you today. While having poor balance was not necessarily the cause of deaths, it certainly is an indicator of poor health and consequently increased risk of mortality. If you cannot successfully balance on one leg for 10 seconds, does this mean that you need to improve balance through a whole regime of exercises? Does this mean that you need to be stressed and concerned about your balance over any other health issues? Not necessarily. There are a whole host of reasons why you might not necessarily be able to achieve this today. There are a lot of variables that play a part in determining why not you can't balance on one leg. As suggested in a study by Aragel et al., the single leg balance test is simply just an indicator of poor health and potentially early death. It should be used as a motivation for those taking the steps in the right direction. For some people, the 10-second test could be the wake-up call that drives a positive change, whether that be seeing your GP for a general checkup, weight loss, or even just some simple dietary changes. At the same time, we know that balance is a crucial physical trait which declines with aging, particularly when you're over the age of 50. So according to the World Health Organization, individuals over the age of 65 and or those with chronic conditions should consider performing functional balance and strength exercises at moderate to greater intensities for 3 days a week. As a practicing physiotherapist myself, I commonly recommend balance exercises for a range of outcomes and goals, such as rehabilitation from a sports injury to those with vestibular issues and issues with falling. If you're looking for motivation to start some exercise to help improve balance today, I'll provide you with 5 types of balance exercises that you may want to include in your day-to-day, routine or incorporate in some sort of exercise program.
Static balance exercises focus on helping you stay upright and stable while you're not moving. There are a whole host of static balance exercises that include narrowing your base of support, standing on something unstable, or even closing your eyes while keeping upright for as long as you can. Your second type of exercise are dynamic balance exercises, and these focus on controlling your control and stability while you're moving. Once again, there are plenty of exercises that you can focus on, like heel-to-toe walking, walking backwards, and even performing head turns as you're walking. A significant part of balance includes having the strength and stability, particularly in your core and lower legs. Exercises like sit-to-stands, hip extensions, hip abductions, and calf raises will help strengthen up these areas that are crucial for balance. Another underrated trait associated with balance is flexibility. Those who are more mobile can adapt and rebound from unexpected circumstances, such as walking on uneven surfaces or even being knocked from behind. Exercises such as yoga, tai chi, and Pilates can be very helpful for building up your mobility and stability. Another type of exercise you can do is by simply walking quicker. Now, research seems to conclude that walking slower than anything than 1 meter per second significantly increases the likelihood of falling. Dedicating just 10 to 15 minutes a day of walking at a fast pace will help you improve your gait speed, as well as having a whole host of other benefits, such as improving muscular and aerobic health. Now, there are many other ways of improving your balance, but these are just some of the suggestions on my behalf. If you do feel like you need more support, please comment in the section below and I'll dedicate another video just on balance exercises alone.
Summarize this video, there are a couple of takeaways that I want you to take from our long video today. One of which is, number one, our balance inevitably deteriorates with aging, particularly if you're over the age of 50. Number two, the one-legged balance test is an indicator of poor health and potentially a risk of earlier death. Number three, most people who cannot perform the single leg balance should evaluate whether or not health improvements could be made. What we saw in the study was that people who had issues balancing on one leg for greater than 10 seconds, they also had an increased risk of having chronic conditions such as obesity. And finally, number four, functional balance exercise should be performed at least 3 days a week for those over the ages of 65 or living with a chronic condition. All right, that's a wrap about the importance of balance today, particularly this simple 10-second test in predicting your mortality. I urge you to try today, particularly if you're over the ages of 50. If you find that this test is something that is quite challenging or you are not able to complete, do not worry. There are things that you can start today in order to improve your balance, improve your health and well-being, and ultimately improve your longevity of life. Thank you for joining me in another discussion about your health, happiness, and longevity. Your support really does mean the world to us, and we can't wait to bring more mind-boggling videos and content in the future. So if you can, please subscribe and click the like button so I can continue delivering video education about optimizing your health. Remember, keep exploring, stay curious, and until next time, Digital Physio signing off. See you in the next video.